Deke, and this is my podcast, Sidetrackd. Since I was a kid, I've always wanted to own my own movie theater. Being able to share the world of moving pictures and sound with an audience on a daily basis is something I'm pretty sure I could do all the way to my final days, which is why I was super excited to talk to my guest, Nayib Estefan. After his parents became two of the biggest names in music history, Nayib continued the legacy of bringing art and culture to the Miami area with his Nite Owl Drive-In, an art house theater that in this year alone programmed over 500 screenings. Today, I am honored to be joined by the Miami movie machine himself, Nayib Estefan, and his friends Grant and Ben. How you guys doing today?
Hello. We're great.
We're chilling. We're rocking.
So in case people aren't familiar with you guys and the theater, can you guys give me a quick rundown on the Nite Owl?
We've started referring to it as Nite Owl in general now because we've had like 7 different theaters. I've worked for different theaters creating their midnight programs, mostly big art house theaters who were doing more generalized stuff and wanted to bring in a younger audience. I'm pretty old myself, but I'm young at heart. So I guess my programming tends to skew towards fun as the higher power. And that tends to bring out people because who doesn't like fun, right? But Nite Owl has been Nite Owl Theater. We had our own art house cinema where it was in the design district. I did one in Italy for Gucci and Kaleidoscope magazine. Did one in downtown Miami in the old Burdines. All over town, Hialeah in the park, a good lit park. There was a theater there that hasn't been touched since the 70s. That was a really special version of the Nite Owl. It's basically an organization which Nite Owl Drive-In was spawned from. Nite Owl Drive-In was the original plan, and I did a couple shows outside 10 years ago and realized that the weather was really intense and decided to go indoors. So that's what I did for 10 years and then came back to my original plan on the original location that I intended to do it 10 years ago.
The push for the drive-in wasn't COVID. That was the original plan to begin with.
The drive-in was the original plan to begin with. I moved back from Los Angeles where my wife was working for Golden Voice and doing the Coachella Festival and many wild concerts. And I got to see all of my heroes perform every night. One night I'd see Daniel Johnston. The next night I'd see Psychic TV. The next night I'd see Pee Wee Herman show. And it was honestly incredible. But we moved back to have my son and be nearer to my parents and her parents. When I moved away from LA, I realized that I was about to be cut off from my favorite activity, which was going to watch classic films on 35 at places like the New Beverly, the New Art, etc. So I kind of like became the guy by accident, mostly because I was cut off from what I really enjoyed doing in LA. And then I came down here and became the guy, I guess.
When you have things like art galleries and venues for spoken word and music and comedy, what is it about this particular art form, movies, that draws you to a career dedicated to sharing those movies with the public?
Well, I think movies in general, the most basic sense is you have a place to kind of escape, whether it's for 2 hours or 80 minutes. Movies have this great way of telling stories where you find yourself most of the time in the characters on screen, unless you're watching like Houseu or something. But, and, you know, they just give you a place to breathe and be free from the outside world. And sometimes you leave the cinema with a changed perspective on how you live your life.
Don't lie, you're the cat from Houseu.
100%. 100%. And I think, especially with the way movies have been going in mainstream media the last few years, where things are getting released to streaming platforms and these big theaters are just showing comic book movies, which are great, not hating on the movies. Having a place like Nayib
You just hated on the movies. You just hated on them.
Having a place like Nayib talked about in LA where you can go and see your favorite movies and have your favorite experiences doesn't really exist where we are. So to be able to do it here and get to curate the vibe a little bit is so much fun.
There's something that we've been kind of obsessed about recently. It's this concept of the third place. There's a book which talks about how your house is the first place that you're at and your work is the second place you're at. But then there's this third place. And that third place could be coffee shops or movie theaters. My stuff has usually been very social stuff, usually to bring out massive amounts of people at the same time. Obviously, COVID doesn't agree with that. It's funny because we actually are going to tell you, you're the first person that we're going to tell this. But we actually have secretly been working on a new location. It's an indoor spot.
Looking forward to hearing more about that in the future. Now, you just mentioned streaming and how easily and readily available movies are at home. How important is it for you guys to get people back out into the theaters and to distance themselves from just the home experience of watching movies?
It's funny because the Nite Owl Theater that was in the design district had all these insane rooms that were themed to different years. Like there was a 70s room, an 80s room, a 90s room, and everything was period specific. If you were in the 70s room, the couch was from the 70s. They all had televisions in them. There was like 75 to 80 working televisions in the Nite Owl Theater in the design district.
Damn.
And they were all patched in with the same film, or sometimes we would do crazy stuff where we play different stuff in the different rooms. There's been a lot of experimentation going on in the background for the last 10 years, that a lot of things that people don't know were going on. It was a secret society, literally. And we were able to experiment and figure out all kinds of fun things that we can do that combine the things that you were talking about. It's never just been movies for us. We also do things to bring textures out of the films. For example, interactive elements, actors, weird things like playing video games on the screen before the movie. We had a thing called Video Dome where we would have all these different vintage consoles in the different rooms, and everyone would come and battle it out and play Smash
Man,
Brothers.
that sounds awesome.
It's been really fun.
I just like going to the drive-in and watching a movie in my car, not being bothered.
Talk to me about what you guys bring as far as experience with the drive-in versus, again, just staying at home.
Can I say that thing that you had said that we had taken out all the things you didn't like about movies?
You don't have to worry about parking. You don't have to stand in line for concessions. We bring them to your car. You order it through our website. You can bring as many people as you can fit into your car. Or
Yeah,
just
I
go
didn't know
by
we had
yourself.
George Costanza on the line.
Yeah. And, you're not going to bother anybody next to you if you're having a loud reaction to the movie. It's just fun. You can make it a party, and you're not going to bother anybody. It's kind of like your own little backyard movie theater.
To go full circle with your question that you asked, that since the Nite Owl had all these different rooms, I started to realize at some point we're a theater, but we're having an experience that you would have in a house, but it's not your house. It's like someone else's house from the 70s and stuff like that. It was really messing with my brain. But I think what started to happen, I got to see a couple movements happen. The Moviepass Movement. Remember that?
Oh, yeah.
That was insane.
The Moviepass Movement was like some drunk guy in the bar like, I'm buying drinks
Yeah,
for
exactly.
everybody.
And I took full advantage of that drunk guy, let me tell you.
We all did. I mean, not to the point that some other people did. We were talking about this recently. There was some weird dudes that would like have 5 movie passes, and some guy came up to me one day and was like, I use it for concessions at the other movie theaters. I was like, oh my God, dude. Like, yeah, it was wild. But what it did do was bring a lot of people out to the movies that might not have come out because they were paying for the subscription model. It was a time. And I did see the minute that MoviePass stopped serving art house theaters. I remember you had asked if I ever considered doing indoor art house theater instead of a drive-in. We did, and we did it really strong. Played over like 500 shows on 35 millimeter.
Oh, man.
You asked if I was the projectionist. Yes, I am the projectionist.
Are you the only projectionist?
I am the only projectionist.
You guys run film prints. Are those your personal film prints, or how are you guys getting those?
There's multiple ways that we play films. Most of the time, I'm working directly with the studios and with archives. I got to a point where it became very scary because I was literally playing the only copies of my favorite films of all time. It's one thing to love Holy Mountain. It's another thing to be playing Holy Mountain, the only existing print, after doing like 6 shows that day, and you're doing a surprise Holy Mountain screening at 3 a.m. The last thing I wanted to be was the guy who any kind of damage to any film print, especially my favorite movies of all time. Some of those movies are old. They're very brittle. And I did know that whenever the movie would come through my hands, it would come back to them in better condition than it arrived, because my other job that I used to have like 5 jobs to start Nite Owl Theater. And one of them was film archivist. I was getting my chops up constantly and applying everything that I learned to running a theater that played strictly 35 millimeter.
Oh, man, that's sick. What else do you guys run besides film?
So we're literally running DCP for the first time thanks to Knight Foundation. And we obviously have to shout out 2 people big time, Knight Foundation and Omni CRA, which is a local group that basically funds projects that are for the community, activating spaces, beautifying spaces, and doing community engagement with really amazing projects. But Knight Foundation helped us with our projection rig. We're running a 40,000 lumen 4K RGB laser barcode projector at Nite Owl Drive-In.
Oh, it's a laser projector?
Oh, yeah. It's one of 3 of these projectors in the entire United States. At least it was when we opened. It's really big. It's the size of a queen-size bed in the Airstream. Really high power. Our screen is 3 stories high. We have a screen which is 3 times the size of the local art house cinema screens. We're outdoors. We're running the laser. We're running DCP, and we're running 4K on almost every show. Some places will be like, "Oh, we're running 4K," but it's like a Blu-ray. We're working directly with the studio to get these DCPs that are scans of the original negatives. So you're watching like a 4K restoration of Ghostbusters where the lasers are literally like melting your eyes out of your head, you know? I used to kind of not know how to feel about DCP, but it's basically the highest scan of a film print that you're going to see, not even a print, the negative. When you watch like 2001 Space Odyssey or Tenet, or well, Tenet's a different story, but like when you're watching these films that were 4K scans of the negative, it's kind of what these nerds are doing online when they're doing like the decentralized stuff. You know, they're looking for 4K scans of Star Wars and putting them together. And that's basically what it is, but it's coming from the studios, and they're painstaking restorations that have taken like a really long time to complete.
I love all that information, man. I loved hearing that.
Nerd stuff.
Yeah, no shit. What's the exact dimensions of your screen, you said?
It's 3 stories high, built on 3 tractor trailer trucks. We made this Frankenstein thing that is insane, and we bolted 3 huge tractor trailers together, like the back of an 18-wheeler, and we made this 3-story structure, which is hurricane-proof. And yeah, running a drive-in in Miami is insane. We may be, quote, year-round, but at what cost? We've had some insane screenings in the rain. I mean, I've really had a year of questioning reality while seeing some of these screenings and seeing people watching these movies like Big Trouble in Little China with an active thunderstorm with the lightning hitting the buildings on the side.
You're fucking killing me, man.
Dude, yeah, very surreal. Let's say that. Oh my
God, you're killing me.
I will say some of my favorite experiences at the drive-in have been watching movies in the rain. Like the Rolling Thunder review looked insane.
We did Rolling Thunder review, and there was literally thunder around the entire spot. It was nuts.
If I ever saw Big Trouble in the Rain, man, like game over, that would be probably my greatest screening ever. That's fantastic.
See, the thing is, it wasn't even
Finger in the Rain, and then when they make the movie Chubby Rain, that would be
Chubby Rain. You're kind of like the guy from Mindhead.
Keep it together, keep it together, keep it together, keep it together.
Hey, so you were talking about Miami. Was that always going to be the location? I mean, since your family and its name is so synonymous with that area and its culture?
At first, I had like the crushing realization, like, oh my God, I am not going to have any access to. I mean, I was like that weird Travis Bickle guy in the movie by myself. My wife went, and she was the victim of quite a few screenings. I have to say, she's a real trooper. But at one point, she would just start being like, just go ahead. You can go. I'll see you later. And I'm like, you don't want to watch Tobey Hooper's The Funhouse at midnight on 35 millimeters? She's like, I've seen it like 9 times with you already. Go ahead. It went from that to like, how has there never been a year-round drive-in in Miami? We have the weather for it. Like right now, the other drive-ins, their season is finishing right now, and ours is starting. We've been running nonstop. Now is when people really start to pick up because of the cold air, you know?
Yeah, it's perfect time to go out. When did the Nite Owl open?
Which one?
The current one, the drive-in, sorry. This current one.
The drive-in opened January of 2000. We had some stuff that we did right before, some test stuff in December, but officially to the public, I would say technically 2021.
Okay. What was your first screening?
Ooh. I think it was Suspiria.
Damn, man. You're killing me.
Suspiria in 4K, dude. It was crazy. It's a great movie. What do you think about Inferno?
I love that. I've actually went backwards in my love for Suspiria. The projector I have has HDR.
Yeah.
When they released, I think it was Synapse Films, they put out that new restoration, and man, I was like, this fucking movie is unbelievable. These colors are, I've never seen anything like that before. So I've shown that movie probably more than any other movie that I own, just based on the fact that the colors come through like so vibrant. It's a great way for me to like show off my system. So I love the original now.
Yeah. I went to see it like a while ago. I hate to be like before it was cool. I went to see it like in a room with like 3 people, and Jessica Harper showed up. It was in like this little theater. She went there to do Q&A, and I asked her what she remembered about the shooting of Suspiria, and she said that the directors were using these cameras. They needed a lot of light because they were old school 35 cameras
Mhm.
that are very saturated, had something to do with the Technicolors. But she said basically that because of this, they had to have these massive theater lights on the entire set. Those old school theater lights are like really, really hot. So
Yeah.
she says that she remembers the set of Suspiria as being insanely hot
Mhm.
at all times, skin blistering hot from the amount of light that was needed to create the stuff that you see in that film, the high contrast.
Mhm.
It was just weird to hear her say that the Suspiria.
Felt like hell.
Yeah, exactly. And then I was like, it makes perfect sense. She also said that she hated Phantom of the Paradise, so I don't know how I feel about that. But
I just watched that for the first time 3 weeks ago. That was my first time watching that, actually.
what'd you think?
Dude, it was crazy, man. Seeing how De Palma really went a different direction on that one. I was like, holy shit. It had good music. And anytime I can go back and catch up on a movie that slipped through my fingers, oh my God, this movie's like decades old and I never saw this before. That's a real treat for
For
me
real.
to go back. Yeah, I love finding something in the haystack that I missed throughout all these years. That's one of my favorite things.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I just wanted to back up a little bit. I think you hinted at this a little earlier, but what is the SCS? If you're allowed to talk about it.
I'm not really allowed to talk about it, but SCS is basically a cult of cult film fans, and it's the organization behind all this stuff. I just work for them, you know.
I think you've already said too much.
I've said too much. Some fun people that love movies.
Gotcha. Okay, we'll leave it at that then.
Fidelio.
If I hear creepy piano music in the background, I'm out. So I wanted to talk about your guys' lineups for the movies you guys choose. What's your process of curating the movies that you show? Because anytime I go on the Nite Owl calendar, I'm freaking out that I'm missing out on some of these screenings. Would you guys go by month or do you go by like season? How do you guys curate the films you guys show?
Well, let me tell you first off.
This month we're going by week.
The truth is,
I'm out.
that process, you're out, dude. No, honestly, we're constantly changing how we go about the process. I mean, in the last few months, the brainstorming powwow sessions have been out of control. Not just movies, but we've done like some TV show marathons and curated events. So it's like, honestly, what we think is A, going to interest people, and B, also kind of be like a head turner, head scratcher. Like, are they really trying to do that? You know?
Hold on, sorry. Let me just reply to this. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Don't worry
the city
about
of Miami.
See what happened? They're ready on us, man. You got a favorite Van Halen album?
What album had the song from Better Off Dead? Everybody Wants Some.
Oh, Women and Children
Okay.
first.
All right.
I
Well, there
love
you go.
Better Off Dead.
There you
Oh,
go.
what a great movie.
Dude, claymation hamburgers, you can't beat that.
I have the replica of the claymation hamburger Eddie Van Halen guitar.
Jesus, that's so random.
Yeah. Well, we're nerds, yeah.
Out of all the movies I could have picked, you happen to have the replica of the guitar for the hamburger.
We played that at the drive-in, by the way,
Oh, man, that's awesome. Please tell me you doubled that up with One Crazy Summer.
separately. You see, Ben? Wait, was it Grant that I was talking to about this?
I said I couldn't believe that One Crazy Summer's a sequel.
It's like a spiritual sequel.
Yeah.
Savage Steve Holland, that's the guy's name?
Yeah, don't get me
Yeah.
started on Savage Steve Holland,
Okay,
please. I love that guy. That's
Okay.
like, I grew up on One Crazy Summer. I grew up on Better Off Dead.
Mhm.
And I actually had a hand in liberating Better Off Dead so that not only I could play it, but other people could play it too. I've liberated a few movies, worked hard to get them released so people can screen them. Better Off Dead, Drop Dead Fred, Little Monsters. Sometimes these movies get lost in the shuffle and it requires some digging and speaking to people where you just have to let them know they have the rights or have it so that they can make the film bookable. But yeah, those are great films.
Oh, man, you're fighting a good fight then.
Yeah, to be able to play them is, I mean, I wish people came out as much as they should for those kind of movies, but
Mhm.
they're deep cuts, you know, they're cult classics.
Especially Better Off Dead,
Yeah.
man. I freaking love that movie.
But sometimes
The
when you
best.
play a movie that only 3 people show up for, it changes your life.
Yeah.
Like
You
in
know,
Encino Man.
yeah. I would have never started hanging out with these clowns if I wasn't the only person with my friend Brian Butler who showed up to see Encino Man.
Wow.
Before I would have given like a funny answer about like the movies pick me, I don't pick the movies. But honestly, at this point, we're just having a lot of fun and trying to pick the stuff that we would enjoy to go to. And usually if we're having fun, everyone's having fun. So that's kind of the vibe.
You guys show everything from like anime and foreign films and cult films, older films, banned films. Is it important for you guys to push the envelope with your choices and showcase lesser known cinema? Are you guys hoping your audience follows you?
Always. The thing is, it's kind of like a video store mentality, which is kind of missing nowadays. I've heard some people say they call it gatekeeping or whatever if you're selecting movies, and it's not gatekeeping. It's like someone told me one time, the older generation has experienced so much, and yes, there's like a million things you can access online. You can access everything at any point, but that whole video store mentality of, oh, you like this? Have you seen this? Oh, you like that movie? Have you seen this movie? That kind of is our style of choosing films. We're not forcing anything on you, but we're just saying like, oh, you might dig this. Like, for example, we're playing this movie right now, which Chess of the Wind. I love Beetlejuice, but there's only so many times you could watch Beetlejuice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I love the Goonies. I mean, and I'm talking, I really love both of these films, but there's only so many times to find the new Suspiria. Keep the classics going, but what comes after Suspiria? It's not Inferno, even though it's technically the sequel. Did you know that Inferno is a sequel to Suspiria?
Yeah, and then Mother of Tears.
Right. Chess of the Wind is like, if you can have something which has the same feeling, but is its own thing. I don't want to spoil it for you, but basically Chess of the Wind is a movie about a family. The whole movie kind of takes place in their house, and it starts with this like daylight lighting, and one of the family members passes away. And by the end of the movie, it's the nighttime in the same house, and it's got this crazy candlelit lighting and all this super atmospheric, deep, contrasty stuff. The end of the film has this super crazy orange tone, which is silent film style, but orange. It's just nuts. You really should check it out if you have a chance. It's called Chess of the Wind. It's really intense.
How'd you guys get a hold of that one?
We work closely with a lot of labels. One of them is Criterion. One of the things that we're going to play in the next couple weeks that we haven't announced yet is there's a restoration of Ghost Dog Way of the Samurai.
Hell
have you
yeah.
ever seen that movie?
Oh, yeah, I love that. Jim
Yeah.
Jarmusch.
So good. So we're going to play that.
Little cameo by the RZA.
Yeah. Yo, Bill Murray. Bill Murray.
Yeah.
I love that movie. And I remember back in the day, I would watch it and I'd be like, man, how is this movie not more popular? But I guess that's what cult classics are. I realized that when I would go see these bands, I would go see some of my heroes and be like, oh my God, I'm going to see Daniel Johnston tonight. There's going to be 500,000 people there, and there would be like 30. And it's okay to be a cult classic. Not everything is for everybody. Yeah, you could watch Ghost Dog at home, but if you watch Ghost Dog in a drive-in with a bunch of people with like a killer breeze, we're right next to the ocean, so we got this amazing coastal breeze, which is a natural air conditioner. So people sit in chairs outside their cars and they get killer breezes, you know?
That's awesome. Let me ask you guys, are there any movies you guys haven't screened yet that you're dying to show the public?
I'm working on one right now.
I have an idea for something, but I'll go after Nayib.
You know what? Go ahead and bring your topic to this podcast because I want to see what this gentleman has to say about.
Listen, I've been dying to do a Nicolas Cage match, Nicolas Cage marathon. Whether it's Vampires Kiss into Face Off or like Valley Girl into Adaptation, I really feel like Nicolas Cage is one of those actors that's really good. And yes, he's like meme status, but just because he's meme status doesn't mean we can't appreciate him. We haven't taken that risk and shown any Nick Cage classics, even Moonstruck at the drive-in yet.
I love Nick Cage. I love a lot of things, but if we don't get a huge attendance for them, there's movies that blew me away that people didn't come to. You know what movie people didn't come to that was shocking to me that they did not come to?
The Muppet
movie.
They did.
Original? Well, that was Grant's big disappointment. We played the original Muppet movie and 3 cars came.
And so I no longer suggest movies.
I chose that because I love the Muppet movie also. And the thing is that the 3 cars that came, it's so funny because like one of them is like a really well-known festival organizer, filmmaker over here. It kind of reminds me of that Sex Pistols story. Supposedly there's like this story where the first Sex Pistols show that like nobody went. It was like 13 people. And they were like, oh my God, it was a failure. 13 people went. And then they're like years later in documentaries and stuff, oh, well, who were the 13 people? It was like Johnny Ramone, Dee Ramone. It was all these like crucial people that went and saw it. So I believe in that sometimes where you have screenings that are not super high attended, but it's like the people that were there, the crucial people to be there. Waiting on an email to see if we, after 10 years, will finally be allowed to play Transformers, the movie, not the Michael Bay.
Right, I was about to
film.
say the animation, yeah.
I'll use that
You
term
got
loosely.
the touch!
Yeah.
The animation where the robot says shit.
That was the only cartoon I cried during when I saw it the first time. I won't say why, but I'm sure you guys know why. What movie were you going to say that didn't do well that you liked?
So the movie that not that many people came to, when I say not that many, it was like 8 cars or whatever, but I was shocked for that movie. Heat.
What?
Yeah.
And not the classic by Burt Reynolds.
Right.
I saw it when I was like 8 years old, and Burt Reynolds, he's like a gambling man, and he goes up and he puts all his money on one hand, and the dealer, like, one tear comes down. She's like, don't do it. And he does it, and he bets everything, and he loses it all, and he walks away from the table. That's Burt.
I'll rent that next.
I'm pretty sure he came out in the midst of like his run of movies with Gene Simmons, right?
Anytime Ben can deviate the conversation to Kiss, he'll always deviate it to Kiss no matter what. Or Nicolas Cage.
Hey, going back to Heat, dude, that's like my third favorite movie. I cannot believe people weren't showing up for that. That's unbelievable.
9 Cars.
Oh, man.
Which is pretty good, but still.
It's good, but still, the Heat, to me, deserves like a packed house. But then other stuff will sell out. And then you're like, this sold out, but Heat, like, we know it's not the drive-in because a bunch of stuff sells out. But then when you have one specific title that you're like, people didn't come see Heat? That is crazy to me. It was really hard to get, by the way. Some of these titles, it's so funny because some of the ones that take forever to get and are brutal, like, not that many people show up to. And then some of the easy stuff is like super packed.
Are you able to talk about any of the movies that you haven't screened yet that you do want to show? Or are you just talking about Transformers? Or
I'm holding
More than
everything on
meets the
Transformers.
eye.
There's always conversations. I have people that come up to me and they're like, I can't believe you haven't played this yet. Usually if it's something that is like something that I obviously would have played and I haven't played it yet, it usually has to do with it being tied up with the rights. Sometimes rights have to do with the music clearance. I used to go to this VHS store in LA called Mondo Video a Go-Go. It was intense. Gigi Allen performed in there, you know, like Goddess Bunny. It was a counterculture place. The amount of movies that this place had that never made it past VHS was mind-blowing. The reason it didn't go from VHS to, let's say, updated Blu-ray, whatever, was because of rights. Music rights, clearances, maybe someone who owned the film passed away and didn't pass it to an estate, whatever it is. So there's like a whole universe of stuff which never came out on any format other than VHS.
Maybe talk about the movie Rad. Like, that was difficult for us to get.
oh, wow, really?
Rad was awesome. It took forever. I tried to book it forever. Finally, they let me do it.
Send me an angel.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Well, we're going to play Top Gun.
Oh, nice.
There's all kinds of stuff which is just weird that we would play it, but then it's like, okay, who else would play it? I've been working on something forever that is taking forever. Some things are just in the hands of the director making the restoration. So I'll let you know, I've been trying to play Brain Dead, Dead Alive.
Oh, nice.
First, it's like not available at all. Then you hear, oh, they're doing a restoration. And then those restorations sometimes take years. There's always stuff on the back burner. There's stuff also that goes on blackout due to like new sequels coming out, like The Matrix. Like, no one's allowed to play The Matrix right now. And then it's like, now you're allowed to play it. There's always like a rotation of stuff that we should be playing that we're not allowed to play because of certain reasons. And there's always an effort to try to plug those things in whenever we can.
Can you guys talk about some of your big heavy hitters?
I mean, it also goes in phases. Suspiria has been a big one for me. No one had played it for a really long time. When I played it the first time, and we played it on 35, and it was crazy, and there was like 400 people in the room. My thing shifted from packing in as many people as I can into one room to like these more specialized individual experiences. I will tell you, there are screenings that have happened that I think will never happen again. To me, those are the real heavy hitters because those are the things that will forever be in people's mind. I'll give you an example. We did a screening of both Daft Punk movies over the course of like 2 different weeks. When I was doing this old theater on the beach called the Byron Carlisle, is from when I was growing up. There was an old theater there, and we used to do like 350, 400 people a weekend every Saturday at midnight. That's when Secret Celluloid was above ground, and we were accepting new admissions, doing community outreach. But we worked directly with Daft Punk. I actually spoke with their management, and we played both of their films using their print. We played Interstellar 5555, which is the anime that they did with the guy that did a lot of famous anime back in the day in Japan. And we did their film Electroma, which is the live action film with them like going in the desert and basically committing suicide in the desert, which is what they would later go on to do with their band. The film basically foreshadowed it like 10 years in advance. So those Daft Punk screenings, I'm pretty sure will never happen ever again because they had to go straight through Daft Punk's management. They involve music rights. They involve all kinds of stuff. And they were to like rooms packed with 400 people. Those are moments. Here at the drive-in, apparently we were the last people ever that were allowed to screen Amelie.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was our Valentine's Day show.
Oh, nice.
That and Pretty Woman, and they both sold out. But what's that saying they say? Like, enjoy every day because you never know. One day it's going to be your last. Enjoy every screening because you never know one day it's going to be your last. Like, that was the last Amelie screening, and I don't think it'll come back.
Oh, man, that's unbelievable. Do you guys do any other movies by him? Jean-Pierre Jeunet? Did you guys like Micmacs?
I have not seen that yet.
Yeah, I love that one. City of Lost Children?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Nice.
The original Weird Out movie from back in the day.
Yeah.
So weird that dude went on to make Amelie.
Yeah, no kidding. Do you guys ever show first-run movies?
We're not a first-run cinema, but what we have done is some event-based stuff. We premiered some stuff. We played this movie called Vivo. We were one of the only theaters in the world allowed to play Vivo. It's an animated film from Netflix. It became like their number one movie all over the world, but we were doing theatrical screenings. They actually did a takeover and did like a theme park. That's something that's been really cool about the drive-in is that we've worked with organizations like Amazon, Netflix, HBO Max, Paramount, Telemundo. We do these like kind of takeover events where they take over the entire drive-in and either turn it into like a weird theme park or do it drive-in style. But we've done some pretty rowdy events with them, and we just ran Possession with Metrograph. That was really fun for Halloween. The crowd, they weren't expecting that.
That's fantastic.
Very fun stuff.
What's the coolest event you guys have ever had? Like, what's the one you're most proud of?
Oof. I really like the one we did recently where we did the 7-hour Twilight Zone marathon.
Yeah, that was a special one for me. I've been trying to do that for 10 years. Sometimes TV episodes are not allowed to be played in a movie theater, especially like I've been dying to do like a Twin Peaks marathon forever, but it's just not possible. Most of the time it has to do with the fact that when they made the contracts, they didn't make the contracts with any kind of theatrical showings in mind. They only made the contracts to have it play on television. So I guess later, like with the Twilight Zone, things like that get worked out, but like years later, you know?
I thought the case with Twin Peaks, though, is they wanted to make sure that if it was ever screened in a theater, that people had to hear David Bowie's Southern accent, and that's why you can only do the movie in a theater.
No, dude. Have you seen Fire Walk with Me?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, Ben had never seen it, and he was already hating on it because I guess he's had so many hipster friends that were like making it part of their lives that he just already didn't like it. Like with a band, you know, and then you see the band and you're like, wait a minute, these guys are good. This is a good band. The way I lured in Ben with Twin Peaks was with David Bowie and his Southern accent. Like we were sitting there, he wasn't even intending to stay to watch it. He was going to leave. I was like, oh, dude, you got to watch a little bit of Twin Peaks. Watch some of them. We were playing Firewalk with Me. And I was like, it was so nonchalant. Like, I got it happen, but like David Bowie comes out and I was like, hey, Ben, check it out. David Bowie with a Southern accent. He's like, do the accent, Ben. How's the accent?
I can't do the accent, but I'll play this.
Come on, dude.
It's the same vibe.
It's very difficult to do that because
I don't know
think,
how he does it. It's crazy.
How would you describe it? If you don't want to do the David Bowie Southern accent, how would you describe it?
It's like an angry person about to lose their cool, but you know they're a little unhinged.
How much do you think David Bowie studied for that part?
I think he put in more hours than he'd like to admit.
More than Labyrinth?
Hear me out. I honestly think he got the call from Lynch. He was at that point in his career. It was a little later. He's like, this could be a very artistically rewarding. And I really feel like he did that thing where he probably got like a lake house somewhere and just was like watching Dukes of Hazzard every day or something. And
method acting.
So you think he rented some kind of winter log cabin and did some misery isolation and just to study his role?
For sure.
You know who did do that, though? This is a true fact. Before making Face Off, John Travolta and Nicolas Cage did do that, and they filmed each other so they could learn each other's mannerisms in order to play the roles respectively for Face Off.
You guys are really looking forward to that Nicolas Cage marathon.
He won't let it go, dude. He won't let it go. Any chance he gets to slide it in, he tries.
It's a cage match.
I'm picking up on that. Hey, so I was going to ask you guys, I have a 10-year-old daughter, and right now in my life, I'm having the greatest time introducing her to my world of movies. Do you share that same bond with your kids?
Yes, I have a 9-year-old son, and I'm having the same experiences, but also having the experiences when he does not enjoy a film that I show to him. And usually what happens is within the first 5 minutes, I think this is one of the most soul-crushing things of all time. He'll be like, I'm going to watch this later. I'm going to finish this later. I'm like, what do you mean, dude? But then there's like other things that he's become obsessed with. Like And I just showed him one time nonchalantly, like he loves Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Wasn't that Halloween costume?
He dressed up as one of the clowns for Halloween.
Oh, man, that's killer. That's fantastic. I love that. Now, has he gotten you into anything?
Yeah. How do I answer this?
Honestly.
No, he's not into SpongeBob anymore. He says, like everyone's asking me about SpongeBob. I'm not into SpongeBob anymore.
That hurts.
I know. He'll come back. Has he turned me on to anything? Yeah, trying to not work so much. We've been working nonstop, dude. Like we've literally for the last 10 years. And you know what? I'm so glad that I did it when I did it, because cinema and the cinematic landscape has changed so much. Just the actual experience of cinema, like to think about that we went from packing in 400 people in a room and asking them to scream as loud as possible to now like being on the other side of the fence. As someone told me one time, sometimes people don't realize that that moment that they're living is going to change and that that's the end of that moment. And years later is when you realize that things were changing. As Jodorowsky says, the good thing about life is that it changes. If you're not changing, you're dead.
On that note, I don't have any kids, but we do have a theater cat.
Turd Ferguson.
Oh, he wants to talk about Turd Ferguson, the theater cat.
So I don't know any other movie theaters you can go to where you've got just a random cat walking around. That's my biggest selling point.
So you guys have a mascot?
Pretty much.
Well, we didn't choose him. He chose us.
Right. Just like the movies.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Maybe he's sent out to spy from the local cinemas.
Yeah, that's the AMC cat.
Maybe
right
he's gathering data.
Yeah.
What's your favorite movie?
My favorite movie of all time, it's Blade Runner.
Oh, see? Good man.
We did that.
Oh, dude.
Which one? Which
The
one?
original.
Hold on. Everybody hold on. Okay, good. Sorry,
Yeah.
I almost fainted
Don't get
there.
me started on my Dune rant.
Have any of you guys seen anything lately that you like? Anything new? Anything old?
I know what Grant would say, and we've kept it together for the entire call, so I'm just going to let Grant go with this one. Go ahead, Grant. Tell him the movie that you've discovered that you didn't know existed and are now obsessed with.
You want me to talk about Kesha's first film appearance? It's I don't know.
Go ahead, Grant. Go ahead, dude. Just go get it over with.
It's a classic film called Fart, the movie.
Fart, the movie? Okay.
And I'm
the
not,
movie.
I'm not making any of this up. It's actually
This is no
a film
joke.
movie. And Kesha makes her first film debut in a couple of scenes.
So that's the recommendation
Yeah.
from Grant. Gotcha.
Oh, and also we are very dog friendly at our theaters. You can come bring your dog
What a transition.
and watch a movie with your dog or cat. Or we've had bunny rabbits. People have brought little bunny rabbits to watch movies.
You're asking movies that, I mean, I was pretty surprised with Chess of the Wind. And I
Gotcha.
know that it's like kind of left field, but it's rare to see something which has a feeling of the past, but that hasn't been seen 1,000 times. I feel like there's two kinds of movie. There's plenty of different kinds of movie watchers, but I feel like the two main ones are people who like really sit and stare at the screen and analyze every moment. And I think there's also people who movies are also kind of like a background situation, almost like a comfort food. Like Blade Runner, for example. I've probably seen Blade Runner like 100,000 times. You know, like the soundtrack is, everything about that movie is insane. It's weird. I had a little TV when I was a kid and I had these little tapes. I had like 5 tapes and one of them was Blade Runner. I would watch it over and over and over and I would think like, how are people not obsessed with this movie?
Right.
And it's just like a cult classic. You find out people are obsessed with it, but they're obsessed with it the way they're obsessed with Dune, where it's like a private thing. Like it's just something that people hold dear to them.
Yeah.
And I think that's what a lot of the movies that we play are, just movies that people hold dear to them. And also maybe movies that if you hadn't seen them before, maybe once you see them, they become a new classic. Like I felt like that with Vivo. I felt like Netflix pulled off something which is really hard to pull off to make a new classic.
Yeah, for me, it's all about experiences. You know, I mean, one of the reasons that I love Blade Runner so much is because throughout my life, I have just had a lot of luck with that movie. I'm sure like a lot of the movies you guys show, even just like things like Rad. Dude, I used to BMX bike all the time when I was a kid. So that movie, even though I probably not introduced it to anyone who was born 10 years after me, they probably wouldn't appreciate it. But for me, I fucking love that movie. It's all about experiences and all about stuff you remember and what you've grown up with.
It reminds me of a monologue from a film where he says these moments will be lost in time forever, like tears in the rain.
Chubby Ray?
I've seen things.
At the Nite Owl.
Attack ships on fire. It's weird because when I get sentimental about all the stuff we've done, I tend to think of that monologue because it's really true. How you talk about experiences, those moments only live in the minds of the people that went to them. And once those people are gone, that's it. Those moments are gone. So those moments, they belong to those people. And that's how it should be. It's not about me. It's about them.
Hey guys, before I let you go, is there anything we didn't talk about that you guys wanted to discuss?
Yeah,
Ben's going to try to talk about Nicolas Cage. Yeah, exactly. He's going to, you see?
Not enough Van Halen, not enough Nicolas Cage.
Not enough Kiss.
The only thing I really want to get into is how much I didn't like the new Dune, but that's me.
Oh, that's a whole other podcast. Why Ben doesn't like the new Dune. Ben, do you like the old Dune?
The David Lynch Dune, at least the set design, the soundtrack, the costume design is like enjoyable and super fun. You can enjoy that movie in like a weird way, you know?
Another movie that nobody came to, a Nite Owl Drive-In.
Oh, man.
Correct.
All right, so don't do a double feature of Dune and the Muppet movie. Gotcha.
Maybe they'll make a new movie how they did Muppet Haunted Mansion. They'll make Muppet Dune.
Or Muppets
That'd be sick.
taking down bank heists in Heat or something. That'd be cool. So.
Well, isn't that what Muppets Take Manhattan is about?
Yeah.
It's a heist movie.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Michael Mann ripped off the Muppets. Hey guys, how can people follow the Nite Owl on social media?
So the best way to do that is just go to @NiteOwlDrive_in.
Hey guys, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for taking time to talk to me about this. Just hearing you guys tell stories about it's taken you sometimes a decade to get a movie release, that makes me appreciate what you guys are doing so much more. I can't thank you enough for taking time to discuss the Nite Owl and what you guys are bringing to the public. If you're in the Miami area, definitely check out the Nite Owl Drive-In.
Thank you so much for having us on. We're really honored to be on your podcast.
Oh,
I have one more question for you, actually. Have you shown your daughter Blade Runner yet?
No, and she makes fun of me all the time about it because my whole arm is tattooed in it. I have like all this autograph paraphernalia and shit like all over the house. So yeah, she makes fun of me about it. My daughter and I, we have struggled for her to want to watch movies with me. I'm a big home theater enthusiast. I'm a huge movie geek. I mean, I'm real into like, hey, when it's movie time, turn all the lights down, cell phones off. Like we're concentrating on this shit. And I take it kind of serious with her. And about a year ago, there was just something that kind of changed in her head where she started asking me to want to sit down and watch movies. And so she wanted to start with some Marvel movies because all her friends at school were talking about it. And I'm not an overly big Marvel guy, but it was a gateway drug for me to get watching movies with her. And so then that kind of branched out into some other stuff. And she's kind of been hinting lately that she's only 10. Not that 10-year-olds can't handle Blade Runner, but I think she's getting to a kind of a closer age. We just watched Jaws for Halloween, and that was a huge landmark for us because she doesn't do rated R movies and she gets scared real easily. So we're making some strides. Check back in with me in the next 2 years, and she may have had a screening.
Listen, you start with Marvel, and you may end up showing her Ishtar one day. You never know. Wow.
That is a jump.
My brother saw Ishtar and he didn't shut up about it for like 6 months.
Your brother wouldn't shut up about Ishtar?
Yeah, and the movie that it could have been. Yeah. Well, funny enough, my dad's best friend did all the sound and mastering for that movie. So it's a been legend within the family.
The truth comes out finally.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think the sound was the issue.
By the way, Ishtar has a huge cult following. Huge. Thanks for having us on. We're really happy to be here.
Hey, thanks, guys. I really appreciate it. You guys take care. And honestly, best of luck for the future of the Nite Owl and any other, you mentioned somewhat possibly a new theater opening up. I wish you guys the best of luck with that and all your endeavors in the future. Thanks for bringing movies to the public. You're doing God's work.
Thank you. Thank you for having us on, and we hope you visit one day.
My girlfriend's family all lives down in Miami, so the next time we're down, I am 100% coming down for a couple of screenings for sure. We've been talking about this for a long time.
So you're telling me there's a chance?
Might want to save that IOU. It's for a Lamborghini.
Yeah, those are good. Those are just as good as money. Those are IOUs. Those papers that you have in that briefcase. Thank you. Have a great day,
Thanks,
brother.
guys. Take care, man. Thanks again to the Nite Owl crew, Nayib, Grant, and Ben, and a special thank you to producer Gigi Lage, who put this entire episode together. If you like what you heard on this episode, you should follow us on our social media platforms like Instagram, Facebook, or head over to our official website, Sidetrackd.stream, to keep up to date on what we're doing. Now, I'm not big on dedicating time to recapping what we've done, but this is officially our last episode of 2021. It's been an amazing couple of months for us here at STD, so to all of our listeners, please be safe, we love you all, and until next year, stay sick.